No, no, yo no te escuchaba, no te escuchaba nada y ahora ni siquiera.
Mr. Galvan, you're muted.
Greetings, guests. Before we proceed, I would like those present to know that there are interpretation services available for this meeting, and now a message about those services.
Buenas tardes, tendremos servicios de interpretación disponibles al español. Por favor, elegir entre español e inglés en la parte inferior de la pantalla donde dice Interpretation, hacer clic allí y elegir Spanish para recibir la interpretación al español. Gracias.
Thank you. Good evening once again, MPS parents and families. Welcome to our first virtual parent engagement session. I am Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent for the Southwest region, and I will serve as the host for this virtual session tonight. And I'm joined here tonight with a few of my colleagues. We've come together tonight because we know how important your child's education is to you, and we want you to know that we've planned and implemented to ensure that all Milwaukee Public Schools students will in fact soar in a virtual setting. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. Excuse me. We know that there may be questions tonight. You can place those questions in the chat, and we'll have some time during the session and then at the end to answer some of those questions tonight. Please know that if your question is not answered during the session tonight, we will be compiling the questions from the chat and they will be answered. Those responses will be placed on our reopening webpage. In addition, this is the first of 2 virtual engagement sessions that we will have. The next session will be held on Wednesday, September 2nd from 5:30 to 7. So sit back and listen and be ready to engage in our chat feature if there are questions that arise. Our presenters tonight are Dr. Dinkins, Tony Dinkins, from the Regional Superintendent from the East Region, and Ms. Janelle Hawkins, Senior Director for the Citywide Region. We also have a few other colleagues here tonight on the panel. I'll just read their names and they'll give us a little wave to introduce themselves. Neva Moga, Professional Development Specialist. Nunciata Buck, Curriculum Specialist. Jennifer Mims Howell, Senior Director of Special Services. Chad Meyer, Senior Director, Technology. Sarah Borges, Curriculum Specialist. Lorena Geni, Manager, Bilingual Multicultural Education. Daryl Hall, Family and Community Engagement Specialist. Todd Hartwig, Teacher Leader for Technology. Chris Sween, Technology Support Coordinator. And Rocio Trejo, Curriculum Specialist. Again, just as a reminder, we do have interpretation services available for this meeting, if you should so require them.
Ben Banier from Technology has a brief message about ASL and Spanish interpretation services.
Apologies, I'm handing that over to Christina Green. I believe Christina already made a statement about Spanish interpretation services. That was already done at the beginning.
Thank you very much. Again, here are the district's 5 priorities for success. Again, as a district, we want to make sure that all we do enhances the education for our students. Priority number 1 is increase academic achievement and accountability. And part of the virtual plan is to do just that. We will also be addressing strengthened communication and collaboration, as we understand that families, students, families and parents at home are part of that process. So we will be talking directly regarding those priorities today. Now I would like to introduce Ms. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Galvan. I just wanted to make sure that interpretation services, do we need to pin anything for our ASL interpreters?
The participant can pin the interpreter if needed.
All right, thank you. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are so excited to have over 1,600 people on our platform tonight. That tells us that you guys are definitely wanting to know exactly what's going to be happening in our virtual world. And so our agenda for this evening is as follows. As Mr. Galvan stated, we just went through our district's 5 priorities. We know that we have to strengthen our collaboration and communication, and that is why we are here tonight, families, to ensure that we are strengthening our communication and our collaboration with you. We'll spend a little bit of time going through the instructional models. You've also heard them referred to as our phases. So we want to make sure that you're very clear on what is expected in terms of our academic phases. We'll share with you a few school-wide schedules so that you will know exactly what your son or daughter should be expecting. We're also going to talk about those academic strategies that we'll be using throughout. We'll talk about special populations. We know that there are many EL learners out there, our special ed population, students who are gifted, receiving intervention. So we want to make sure that you guys get the information that you need. We're also going to dive a little bit into our family supports and talk about the role of the parent coordinators in our building, because these are people that we want to make sure that you're touching bases with on a regular basis. We'll go into our technology support, and then we're going to end our session today with a live Google Classroom, exactly what your child will see when they're logging into our virtual platforms. So this evening, you will see slides like this throughout the presentation that will alert you that we will be taking questions. And so if you have questions, we do ask you to put those questions right in the chat, but we will definitely try to take all of your questions during this time. If we do not get to your questions this evening, please know that those questions will be listed on our reopening page under the time and date of this session. And so again, knowing that we don't have as much time as we would like with you tonight, we do want to get to all of your questions to make sure that you're able to help your child in this virtual world. So let's jump in and get started. As we start talking about the instructional models, I want to make sure that everyone is clear that what we do in terms of teaching and learning, that won't change. How we do it will look different, all right? And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is really talking about what will happen in phase 1 of the reopening. And so right now, what you see is all of our students should have Chromebooks. They should be communicating with in early start, I apologize. In early starts, they have Chromebooks. They've received their textbooks. Our traditional start students will also will have an opportunity to get their Chromebook and their textbook from their schools. And so we will prepare to have virtual instruction every day of the week. We are going to still be expecting students to be in virtual classrooms every single day. Attendance will be taken. We are going to expect students to be involved in small group, whole group, one-on-one instruction. I am going to encourage families to really think about, where do you provide a quiet place for students to learn? Keep in mind, we are expecting you all to be our co-teachers in this. We will not physically be able to see our students. And so we are hoping that you can still provide a place in the home where they know this is where we are going to sit and do our work. There are going to be times that your children will need a stretch break. It is very daunting at times to sit in front of the computer. So make sure that they're still getting some time to stand up and walk around as they're in this virtual world. One of the things we also want you to keep in mind is phase 1 of our virtual says that early starts will go until October 9th. Phase 1 for our traditionals will go until November 13th. Keep in mind that in phase 1, we will be getting information from the CDC
para asegurarnos
to make sure that we are in compliance with the CDC. And so moving into phase 2, all of those things will be regulated to make sure that it is safe for students and it is safe for families to move into phase 2. Phase 1 is also going to require some assistance with making sure that students have the correct login information. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. Keep in mind that right now, the virtual phase is everyone is on a Chromebook. If you are in need of hotspots and all of those things, we are going to refer to those things later in the presentation. When we start talking about phase 2 in October, hopefully if the CDC gives us clearance, we are going to start talking about what it looks like to have cohorts of cohorts of students. So there could possibly be student cohort A and cohort B. Cohort A would attend school on Mondays and Tuesdays with their virtual classroom happening on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then cohort B attending school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with their virtual on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and in person on Thursday and Friday. This blended model will give teachers an opportunity to have FaceTime with children. It also gives us an opportunity to keep our numbers very low. When the CDC is recommending that we have 15 in a classroom or 15 to 1, this model then allows us to do that. Things will look different, but here again, we will make sure that things are set up so that families understand which cohort they are in. Another thing that comes up a lot is parents are wondering, I have multiple siblings or multiple children at different places. We have capabilities of making sure that all of your children are in cohort A or all of your children are in cohort B, so you don't have to try to finagle that schedule. And then our last phase is phase 3. Now, phase 3 would be if we are coming back into the school in brick and mortar, we are coming back. However, still maintaining our CDC guidelines. So for example, I may be the classroom teacher. However, I may have to take the 30 students and divide them in separate rooms, and then the teacher would then have to travel to these different spaces. Keep in mind, as we move through the phases, we are going to make sure all of that information is shared with parents. You will get it in a very timely manner. We are receiving information from the health department as well as guidance from Department of Public Instruction. So you will have all of that information upfront so that you will know which phase we are moving into. Here again, we are scheduled to go into phase 2 October 9th, which coincides with our report cards. However, before that, you will definitely know and have information leading up to if we are moving into phase 2.
I just have a few questions from the group right now that I think we could be able to answer. Some of these questions, again, will be answered throughout the presentation. And as Ms. Hawkins said earlier, any questions that are not answered tonight, we will have an opportunity through the chat to put those on our reopening page. And again, as a reminder, interpretation services are available. So I know this session will be recorded. Will it also be recorded for Spanish-speaking families, or will it just be in English, and where will it be located? So again, this will be recorded, and my understanding is the translation will be recorded as well, and that will be found, I believe, on our reopening webpage. Is that correct, Ms. Hawkins?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. At this point, I think we can move along because I know a lot of the questions are specific to areas that we will be addressing. And again, hopefully that will answer some of those questions when we go through that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Galvan. We want to talk a little bit this evening about schedules. I think that has been a big thing that has come up in terms of when should my child be in front of the computer? How will the school be communicating with me? So this next section of the presentation, we're going to dive into schedules. We do want you to know that we take a lot of guidance from the Department of Public Instruction. And one of the things that DPI said in terms of building out schedules for virtual learning is that we can build out these schedules the same way we build out if students were in brick and mortar. And so that was a lot of our guidance in thinking, what will this look like when our students go out into phase 1 of virtual learning? There are also...
This is Maria, the interpreter.
There are also required minutes when your students are actually physically with us outside of the pandemic that we're looking at. And so we have to make sure that all of our grade bands are getting the appropriate amount of minutes in terms of each content area. And so what you see on the screen is those required minutes per content area. However, when we start talking about what does learning look like in a virtual world, we are going to use two words that you're going to hear probably a lot when you interface with your child's school, and that is synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous learning is when we are going to refer to that as when students will actually be able to see their classroom teacher as well as the students in which they are in the class with. And so we want to make sure that there's an appropriate amount of synchronous time. We do know that families in our community are going through a lot due to the pandemic, and we do want to make sure that we still build community with our students and our families. And so each grade band has been identified with a certain amount of synchronous learning time. There's also asynchronous learning time. Asynchronous learning time, I want us to refer to that or think about that in terms of when students are working independently, when students are working in small groups, when students are working one-on-one with an adult. We want to make sure that when students are in asynchronous time, they're getting what they need. And so think about that as I need to make sure during asynchronous time that I'm still making sure that my child is doing everything they need. I'm just going to kind of walk through what you see on the screen for 6th through 8th grade. And so if you had a child in 6th through 8th grade, you would receive a schedule from your child's school saying that there will be 2 hours of synchronous time. And so that school will let you know exactly what time that synchronous teaching will happen. And so kids should log in, they will see their teacher, they will see their class. That will be more of our whole group instruction. There will also, during that 6th to 8th grade band, there will be like 4 hours of asynchronous time. And here again, we know middle school students, a lot of their learning is learning with peers. And so schools may set up cooperative groups or things of that nature to ensure that all of our kids are still working together, checking in with adults during that asynchronous time. Asynchronous time could also be an opportunity to have a child actually go to office hours that the teacher will provide. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. When you are talking to your child's school, one of the things I want you to talk about is what does that time look like for that grade band? Keeping in mind, we do know some of our younger learners, our kindergarten, they are going to need assistance from you in terms of logging in. We are hopeful that they will be able to get it after a few times, but know that many of them may need some assistance early on. This is our minimal expectation. And so I am going to show you a little bit later in the presentation, as schools are creating their own virtual learning plans, that this is the minimal expectation. So in most of our schools, you may see this, but I do want you to know that there are some schools that are running it and they are well above this, and that's okay too. We are going to say that this is the minimum, but if there are schools that are doing more synchronous and more asynchronous, we encourage it. We have set the bar so that as people get more comfortable in this technology world, we are hoping that all of our schools will start to stretch. I wanted to show you an example of what a schedule could possibly look like for students. And so we do want to keep in mind that teachers are still going to have some of that planning and preparation time. But they're also going to be, the bolded items are times where this would be actual synchronous teaching. And so the teacher would log in on a Monday at 9 o'clock. And that is a time that we're expecting students to be bright and early and ready to go. Now, I will say, and technology will talk about it a little bit more, if class starts at 9 o'clock, I'm really going to encourage families not to wait until 9 o'clock to log in. Right now, what we're experiencing is just people getting used to this technology world. For this meeting alone, we logged in probably 30 minutes early to make sure everything was set. Now, we took a break after that, but just making sure that we log in and everything's set, that the sound is good, the camera is good. But this would be an opportunity that the students would actually be with the teacher. Now, when you look down on Monday, you also see 11 to 12 is individual small group. That would be more of your asynchronous time. So as a classroom teacher, I may pull 5 or 6 students and I'm working with them individually. There's also some time to do individual math instruction later on in that afternoon as well. So the teacher could actually pull different kids. And so keeping in mind synchronous, that is our live teaching. Asynchronous would be our time where people are working in small groups or one-on-one support. And so this is a sample of what that would look like at an elementary schedule. I do want you to think about that we have our middle and high schools that could probably, if they're on an A-day, B-day schedule, they may have they may have their first hour and their second hour in the morning on a Monday and their third and fourth hour in the afternoon on that same Monday. So they're breaking up their 8-hour periods. And so they'll have Monday, Wednesday, they would see certain classroom teachers, and Tuesday, Thursdays, they may see certain classroom teachers. Keeping in mind that every student will receive a schedule that outlines their synchronous and asynchronous time. There's also time in there for academic career planning in our middle and high school. We want to make sure that we're still preparing kids for college and beyond. And so that has been included in our schedules, as well as lunch. We do want to encourage our schools to make sure that they're breaking at lunchtime so that kids can still go over to our grab and go sites and get lunch. So please make sure you have seen a schedule that your school has sent to you. Again, just following through with that, we talked earlier about office hours. We do encourage you as well as your students to take advantage of teacher office hours. This is a time that if you are missing something or you need something, this is a time that you can connect with them. They are scheduled to be available in this virtual setting to make sure. It would be the same as if you were in the school and you just stopped by. We know that you can't stop by in this pandemic. However, we are offering office hour so that we can still ensure that you're getting everything that you need. One of the things that we asked all of our schools to do as we're talking about virtual learning is each school was tasked with coming up with their own virtual learning plan. And so I encourage families to please talk to your schools. You should have received one. If not, I want you to go and ask, where is the virtual plan for your school? This is very school specific. What we asked leaders to do was to come up with what can parents expect in your virtual school. And so you may have in the document, you will have a message from the school principal or the school. You will have the platforms that will be used. And for example, if they're using Google, if they're using Messenger, if they're using their website, whatever those 4 to 5 platforms are that they're using, we want to make sure that they communicate that with you. You'll also see learner expectations. And so we have identified what is expected from students, what is expected from classroom teachers, and then we have a section in there as far as what are we expecting from parents. Just some things that you can help us with, because here again, keep in mind, we do consider you our co-teacher in this virtual world. There's also some information in there about the schedule, and what times and when will synchronous time happen, when will asynchronous time happen. There are attendance procedures. Please ensure that students are logging in every single day. Attendance still counts, attendance still matters. And so we are encouraging you to make sure that that computer is on and working every single day. If not, later in the presentation, we'll talk to you about what you need to do in that instance. We are going to be paying attention to those special populations and making sure that all of those students get what they need. But I want you to keep in mind, unlike in the spring semester when we left, none of us envisioned that we would still be out during a pandemic. And so when we left in the spring, it was pass fail. We are giving grades this time. So we are expecting students to still rise to the level that they would if we were in brick and mortar. So assessments and grading will be key. But here again, I do encourage you, if you have not received it already, every school has created a virtual learning plan, and that is going to be very specific information about the school that your child attends that will help you in terms of all of the things that I've just talked about, in terms of the schedule, in terms of how you will receive information. Everything that school will do is laid out in that virtual learning plan. At this time, I want to turn it over to Ms. Nancy Adaba, who will talk about many of the academic strategies and resources that your child will use as they are out in this virtual world. Ms. Buck?
Thank you so very much, Ms. Hawkins.
Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, parents and families, caregivers,
Buenas tardes, familia.
everyone that we have on the line. Thank you first and foremost for joining us for this first virtual family resource. And I would like to start by saying we won't get everything in within this hour and a half, but we are here to serve you. We are delighted that you have entrusted us with your children and your jewels, because you would not have given us anything but your best. And we thank you for that. When we talk about curriculum and instruction, those academic strategies and resources that you as parents and caregivers can utilize in an effort to support your child, as Ms. Hawkins said, you are now our one-on-one academic co-teacher for the teachers in this virtual world. You are the ones who will push and make sure that your child is in front of that Chromebook, on the platform, in the classroom, in Seesaw, using the materials, and you would be able to maybe help them set some goals for themselves. So the first thing that I want you to know is that as we go through, and Ms. Dinkins is going to do a virtual a demo for you, when you go into your family resources and the students log into their student toolbox, through Clever, all of the resources in the academic area are available. Students have that accessibility. They're able to log in. They will have access then to everything that they would need from math, reading, writing, science, social studies, physical education, all of the curricular areas. We want to make sure that they have that access, and if by chance something happens, you can always reach out to the regional superintendent for your region. I always say East, I'm thinking about Dr. Dinkins, and Ms. Hawkins, but reach out to the regional superintendents. They would reach out to us to make sure it's taken care of, so never fear. We're always there 110%. In the MPS parent section, you have what we call parent guides, and I have a screenshot of it. We have those for reading, writing, math, kindergarten through 12th grade. It shares with you what those academic standards are through the Department of Public Instruction and what focuses the work. The Toolbox shares with you those resources. Now, there were some schools during the time Chromebooks were given out. They also gave out hard copies of text. So if you would prefer that your child has a hard copy, reach out to that administrator in that school and we'll make that happen. The next thing is always building a foundation around reading, writing. Those are some important areas that when we say you are that one-to-one academic support, you're that one-to-one co-teacher to provide interventions. We have some things that will be listed in the virtual lesson plan from the school. However, on those off moments, on the weekend, thinking about activities that students could really choose, like from an online educational site or from an educational program that's within Clever, have them share with you something that they've learned new, something that they've been creative with. Have them reflect, have a story, maybe have get them together to be creative. Some may want to draw, some may want to rap, some may want to dance and sing, but have them really reflect on and share what they've learned with you. We want to make sure that the explicit teaching online expectations that we have as educators are those same explicit teaching instructional online supports and expectations that you have as parents. In the center of this slide, you will find our August 2020 selection for MPS Reads. And yes, even though with the new norm, the library in your school is not available for you, and the library in the community, our students can download Sora wherever they'd like, and they could have access for online books through Overdrive by logging in to the soraapp.com/library/Milwaukee, Wisconsin collections, and they just need to log in using their MPS student ID. So again, we want to make sure that we are providing everything that we need as far as the curriculum and instruction department. And we want to make sure that your child, the students you've given and entrusted us to, have what they need. Because as I used to always tell them in my wonderful classroom, good, better, best. Don't let it rest until your good is better and better is your best. And I know you've given us the best. Once they've done this, once you've had an opportunity to really engage and see the wonderful things they're learning, the wonderful things that they even want to learn, you can actually have them do some simple learning tasks, goals, and expectations from Monday to Friday in any of the categories they pick. I always give them that opportunity for choice and tell them to select the academic content area that they like. Have them go in and begin to build those goals and those tasks. So without further ado, and I know we have a lot of things that are going on, I want to fast it over. And actually, I have a surprise visitor who's popped in, and I'm going to move my chair so that she'll have enough lighting, is our Senior Director for Specialized Services, Ms. Jennifer Mims-Howell.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm Jennifer Mims-Howell, Senior Director of Specialized Services, as Nancy said before. Oops, I'm sorry, you can't see me. This is one of the things that we talk about with our parents, always trying to have like something, an alternative plan. Sorry about that. Thank you. During virtual instruction, it is appropriate for our special education teachers to support the learning of all the students in their class. According to the school's virtual plan, it will talk about how much time the students should be supported. As we talk about asynchronous and synchronous learning time, it is appropriate for the special education teacher to be in the Google Classroom or in Seesaw while the regular education teacher is providing instruction. This is so that the regular education teacher and special education teacher can work together on accommodations or modifications for the student to use possibly during the asynchronous time. Special education teachers are providing a free appropriate public education to the students with disabilities through the established Google Classroom or Seesaw for the instruction during the synchronous learning time. The teachers are also responding to the needs of students and families as we support the learning and the IEP goals, as well as the social emotional learning. They're to monitor the students' IEP goals and monitor the engagement, sometimes adding different anecdotes to help the student learn or an extension to what's being taught in the classroom. These teachers also will help develop grade appropriate and age level appropriate lesson plans. As they collaborate with the regular education teachers, when it is appropriate, the accommodations and modifications can be made to the classroom's learning. The special education teacher will also identify and utilize appropriate instructional materials when it is appropriate based on the student's need. It is important that the IEP teacher work in collaboration with the general curriculum teacher and the specialists that are involved with the student to provide the IEP goals. All services offered to non-disabled students in Milwaukee Public Schools during this virtual time are also available to students with disability. Currently, through our online education model, students are provided Chromebooks, as well as being offered the additional supports in their schools. Teachers and support staff will continue to offer activities that can be worked on at home during the asynchronous time to help the students achieve the goals of their IEP. This will also help students make connections, as was said before, back to physical school and things in the community. The teachers and specialized services staff members who work with the student will provide more specific resources and appropriate information to help the student meet their educational needs, as well as any community resources that may benefit the student, as well as social emotional learning. If your student is struggling with areas, please reach out to the school teacher first. They are available to help you and also help the student work through this trying time. We all are learning together. We also want to make sure that school leaders are aware if teachers are doing wonderful jobs with your student or if there's concerns that you have. IEP meetings can also be convened through the virtual platform or through a phone. Please contact your student's IEP teacher to set this meeting up. Special education supervisors are also available to help you work through, to help you work through any concerns that you have while we work the virtual platform together. Referrals and evaluations will also continue to happen. If your student is scheduled for a reevaluation, the school team will give you a call to talk about what is most appropriate. If it is a first evaluation or initial referral for a student, we currently are working on face-to-face evaluations in a safe environment where proper PPEs are provided. The Department of Specialized Services also offers additional supports for students with special needs. Assistive Technology is available for our students, as well as audiological and psychological services. We have a homeless program here in Milwaukee Public Schools, as well as a school to work transition program for our students age 14 and above. Special education supports are available in all the academic areas. And as Ms. Nuncy said before, please reach out for the supports that your child needs. And finally, the non-conventional programs that Milwaukee Public Schools offers are our home and hospital program, our pregnant parent and youth program, as well as our services plans. If you are a parent or a guardian and you have specific questions regarding your child's IEP, concerns about a referral, or any other special needs your child might have, please feel free to call the Department of Specialized Services at 414-438-3648. The number again, 414-438-3648. Leave a message and we will return your call within 24 hours. Thank you for being a partner in your child's education. I would like to now turn it over to Ms. Lorena Guinea.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorena Guinea, Manager of the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education. MPS is proud to offer specialized instruction for English learners. This comes in the form of English as a second language, which is ESL, and bilingual education, English and Spanish. English learner students in the English as a second language program develop skills in English in order to communicate information, concepts, and
Tienden a
ideas
comunicar
in the
información
areas of English language
y
arts,
aprenden.
mathematics, social studies, and science. ESL teachers and students log into the computer with the classroom content area teacher to support specific lessons through modified grade level instruction. ESL teachers include videotapes, read aloud, visuals, and other research-based instructional strategies to support the development of oral language, literacy, and comprehension. The ESL teachers support students and their families when they explain to students one at a time how to access resources together, step by step. Work with a small group of students to teach them how to read, giving time to practice with the teacher and with each other. The ESL teacher assists parents with questions regarding their child's education, including on how to find their child's Google Classroom. If necessary, they communicate with the help of an interpreter to share ideas for helping a student be successful at home with virtual learning. English learners in the bilingual program receive instruction in English and Spanish across content areas. Through at-home learning, a student will log in with a bilingual classroom teacher to access lessons. During virtual learning, bilingual teachers may provide whole or small group instruction, as well as one-on-one support. Because bilingual teachers are providing daily instruction in English and Spanish using the Teaching for Biliteracy framework, students are able to have access to grade level standards in a language they understand. Through virtual learning, you will notice that bilingual teachers encourage students to develop speaking and listening skills, which prepares them to build vocabulary and comprehension. A student will also have consistent opportunities to compare both languages in order to recognize similarities and differences, so that the students transfer concepts and skills they have learned in one language to the other. We sincerely thank families for the partnership and learning. Following, you will hear from Dr. Dinkins.
Good evening, families and parents. Before we get there, though, I want to ask Mr. Galvan, are there any questions in the chat, Mr. Galvan, that we need to address at this time?
Yes, there are. Thank you very much. And again, for all of those participating, please know that if we don't get to your specific question at this time or later on during our session, again, we will be responding to those questions that are in the chat, and they will be placed on the reopening plan. And some of the questions that have been posed will be answered as we proceed through the session today. But there are a few questions. And Ms. Buck or someone else, how will K-3 be expected to do virtual learning when their primary milestone is socialization and learning in groups?
Don't think Ms. Buck is with us. We definitely do know that K-3 is about socialization. I am pleased to say that in many cases, our early childhood teachers, Ms. Buck has joined us again, our early childhood teachers are well aware, and in many cases, they are sending home extensions along with the computers. And so we do have a curriculum that they're working with Frog Street. I'm gonna let Ms. Buck jump in and give a little bit more information about Frog Street.
And I just want to make sure I'm getting the right question. We had to do some technical changes with the computers a few minutes ago, so my apologies. Can you repeat it for me, Eduardo?
Sure, Ms. Buck, just the question was for K-3, and I would say K-3, K-4, K-5, many of our younger students, much of the primary milestones are socialization and learning in groups. How will that be done virtually?
They have a wonderful program that's a part of Frog Street, which guides the students through activities that begin their day with them kind of discussing and engaging in reading and English language arts, integrating math, so counting, music. The K-3 children may have to end their daily schedule for some of the read alouds and shared reading and reading along that comes with the Frog Street curriculum. All of the audios are a part of that, and it is a great resource for them. And parents, you will have access when the students are logged in using theirs, and it's a part of the Frog Street app. I'm trying to read the question. Is the Frog Street an app on the Chromebook? They have it in the toolkit. So, I mean, toolbox. So the same toolbox is used for a high school student is our K through 12, and you log in single sign on through Clever. Hopefully that covered it.
Ms. Mims-Howell, my son was in the process of evaluation for a stuttering problem in March last school year, but he did not complete that because of the pandemic. What will happen in that case?
Eduardo, give Ms. Mims-Howell 2 seconds because we actually had to share a computer. Hers went black. So I'm thinking she's about to run in here in like 2 seconds.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
An important question. When does school start?
Well, our early starts have already started. So I'm hoping at this point, all of our families that have traditional high school, our traditional middle schools, and some of our elementary schools have already started. And if you are a traditional school, school starts on September 1st. We are counting down right now. We are very excited. So please, we will begin to have welcome week for our elementary students on August 24th. You will be receiving information when to pick up your Chromebook, when to pick up your textbooks. I know schools are giving away masks. They're giving away goodies for families. So please be encouraged and stay tuned for more information. But school starts September 1st. And if you're early start, you're already late. So we need you in a seat by tomorrow.
Thank you. I think we'll come back to the question regarding evaluation at a later time, and we can move on.
I'm here, Mr. Galvan.
Oh, great. Ms. Mims-Howell, if somebody was in the process of an IEP evaluation and then the pandemic obviously caused the shutdown, what will happen in those cases?
Since July 1st, when the order was lifted, Milwaukee Public Schools has been working on obtaining PPEs so that we can do in-person, face-to-face assessment with students. So over the next couple of weeks, parents will be receiving phone calls if they had a referral in process, and we will start beginning to process those referrals. So we are going to do face-to-face assessments for students with proper PPEs. A phone call will go to the families to work out the specifics. So we will begin doing evaluations again.
Thank you very much. And I will again just repeat that all questions will be answered, even if they're not answered live or in the chat, and we will post those on the reopening webpage. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Dinkins.
Good evening, families and parents. We're all excited that you're here with us tonight, and I have the privilege of bringing to you the supports that we put in place for this virtual learning phase that we're in. Again, I am Dr. Tony Dinkins, Regional Superintendent for the East Region. The first support that we put in place that we knew that our parents would definitely need in our virtual phase was our parent tutorials. These are short videos in multiple languages that were designed, in most cases by MPS staff, to help our parents navigate the virtual learning platforms that our students are being required to use. We've gotten so fancy that we did create a school reopening website. It is already up, but I'm going to showcase it later on in this presentation because I want our parents and families to know right where it is starting tonight, if you haven't already seen it. Also, we want our parents to be able to access the existing resources that we've already created and that are on our MPS website. We're ensuring that these resources are available to our parents and families in a variety of means. This is not limited to, we want to print these resources as well as make them available on the website that we're going to preview. We've also asked our parent coordinators to be familiar with what is on our reopening website as well as the family resources page. And we do have Daryl Hall with us tonight to really talk about how else the parent coordinators are going to be supporting our families during this virtual phase. Daryl?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dinkins. Good evening, parents and family. Just wanted to highlight just a few things that around the work that's happening with family engagement in our department. So to help families stay informed and stay connected during phase one, this reopening, we have developed a plan in our really currently training parent coordinators as we speak. So my team has created a fancy, like Dr. Dinkins said, really fancy Google Classroom for all parent coordinators to use as like a one-stop shop where families can find all the relevant resources and support that they need. So there is a parent coordinator at every school. This is where the parent coordinator can access those relevant resources, including tools and training to work with their family and onboard them as needed. In addition, I just want to ensure that in order for families to get what they need, we're going to make sure that happens at every level. So families will be able to get what they need as it relates to the reopening. In the schools, so parent coordinators would be in the central contact to be able to assist those families. They are knowledgeable about the resources on the MPS reopening site that are available for families. And we make sure that those resources are relevant to meet the needs so the families can stay engaged and stay informed. And we'll be available to help families navigate. These are the parent coordinators, help the families navigate and wayfind, that the resources that are available on our district website. So, and I would like to add that the parent coordinators will be available virtually as well and have dedicated office hours so they can meet and also engage with family as needed. And they should contact their school to learn about those hours that each parent coordinator has. So please contact your child's school to find out what those hours will be for those times. Lastly, we will continue to have ongoing support for our parent coordinators throughout the school year. So as we move forward into different phases, parent coordinators would have information that's current and relevant to continue to work with families. And now I'll just turn this back over to Dr. Dinkins. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I love that we are getting our parent coordinators ready to support and help out in this new virtual phase. I also want to point out that our third support that we have put in place and created is that we heard loud and clear that our parents and families wanted a standard way to communicate their child's progress. So now we have asked all of our teachers to utilize the weekly summary feature in their Google Classroom. This will allow our parents and families to receive up-to-date feedback as soon as it's posted by the teacher. So when students turn in an assignment, a project in their Google Classroom, when the teacher provides the feedback, the parent will definitely receive it, and that will be our way of communicating, as well as good old-fashioned phone calls and emails, because those definitely work, and you should be receiving those from your child's school and teacher. And then lastly, our technology support. We know that in this new virtual phase and that we have all of these Chromebooks out, that our families will need technical support. We've extended our technology support from the spring to include support in multiple languages. We do know that our families don't just speak English, that we have multiple languages that we serve. And so we will be utilizing the language line, and we have extended the staff that is available to work the technology support line. So when our families do call for support at the 438-3400 number, we have multiple people willing to take those calls. So now I want to get a chance to kind of show you our new school reopening site that I was so excited about. It is on our NPS homepage, and you can see the email on the screen. At the bottom, you want to click on where it says new school reopening. You go ahead and click there, and that will take you to the very next slide, which is the reopening site. You can see on here we have our phases. Again, as Ms. Hawkins mentioned, we are in phase 1, full virtual. But what's exciting about the new reopening site is at the bottom we have 3 tabs that we want our families and parents to take advantage of. That's our community assistance tab, our family resources tab, and then finally our family tutorials that I alluded to earlier. I'm excited about the family tutorials, so that's what we're highlighting here. You click on that tab, it will take you to the 3 to 5 minute short videos that will walk parents through all of the platforms that we are requiring our students to use, like Clever. So you'll be able to see where to find Clever, how to access Clever on that video. Our Google Classrooms, there's several that relate to Google Classrooms, how to find assignments, how to join the Google Classroom. Any questions about Google Classroom, you'll find in that tutorial. How to use a Google Meet, Google Slides, and of course, we know our primary students are utilizing Seesaw, so we've even created a tutorial for our parents there. We also are encouraging all of our families to sign up for our parent portal. This is a must-have communication tool, family. So I want to walk you through how you can access the parent portal. On the new NPS school reopening site on the right-hand side, there is a tab that you can click on entitled Parent Portal. Once you click on that portal, you will be able to log in if you already have access, or you'll be prompted to follow some simple directions that will allow you, once you're in, to access your child's schedule, any assignments, their attendance, grades, and any district messages. So if you do not have a parent portal account, you can contact your child's school, and they will walk you through and support you on that, as well as the reopening site. Once you have a parent portal account, we wanted to show you what you will be able to see. So it is connected to Infinite Campus. Again, you'll get alerts, district messages, you'll have your child's schedule, any transportation information, and of course, all important attendance. So if you have not done the parent portal, we are encouraging you to do that ASAP, as soon as possible. And then finally, on our school reopening site, again, family resources, want to show you some of the things that are available there. So if you click on the family resources tab, it will take you to a page that does not have the tutorials, but you'll find things like an at-home learning resource guide. You'll find things about parent self-care, because we know how important that is. And any other resources that we have created for our families, you will find in that resources tab.
All righty, I know that's a lot of information. And again, there are many, many questions in the chat. And again, I just want to keep repeating, if we do not answer every question tonight or live during the chat, we will have those questions answered for you, all of you out there. But just a few questions here. Ms. Hawkins, can you clarify how families can access teachers during office hours?
Yes, every school has created the virtual learning plan, and schools will be very specific. Many schools have email addresses. They've included phone numbers in there. If none of those items are in there, you can always call the child's school. So we are encouraging you, our schools, someone will be answering phones. So please feel free to contact the school. However, email address, schools have also provided links, so teachers may have office hours and they may just be able to pop in and talk with the teacher, but please look in that individual school's virtual learning plan to see what is the best way to connect with your child's teacher.
Thank you. And there are quite a few questions in the chat regarding those school virtual learning plans and school specific plans. Please understand that our early start schools have already started. So those plans should be able to be found on the school webpage, or reach out to the administrator of the school in order to get that. Our traditional schools, as was mentioned earlier, have not started yet. So many of those plans are in the final kind of stages of development, and they will be up and available to families very, very soon. And I know that's a lot of questions regarding that. So again, traditional schools will begin to get those plans out and available very, very shortly.
Mr. Galvin, can I add there, our traditional start schools, keep in mind they will be doing Welcome Week, the week of August 24th through the 28th. So they will be receiving communications from their child's school. At that time, it is appropriate to start asking for those virtual learning plans, as they should be complete at that time.
Wonderful. Will traditional schools get assignments and books?
Yes. We are giving out books along with Chromebooks. So during Welcome Week, all of our students, all of our families will receive a day and time in which they are scheduled to go to the school. They will pick up Chromebooks, any assignment, any books that they need, any handouts, whatever they will need in order to get started in phase 1, they will pick up on the same day that they pick up their Chromebooks.
Wonderful. And I know this was answered, but just to clarify again, in terms of the phases that you were discussing earlier, are those dates for the phases open to change, or will those, that's what we're doing?
So great question. The dates right now are standing. Keep in mind, we do have to take direction from the city health department in terms of our numbers going down. That is how we would like to move into phase 2. We will have to make sure that everything is safe for students and staff to move into a hybrid model. If everything is clear, we will be moving at that time, giving parents enough notice so that they can make adjustments in terms of childcare and all of those things that they need to do. So I would like to say it's softly written in stone, but knowing that we will have to definitely hear information from the health department and CDC regarding guidelines and if it's safe to move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, could you, a parent asked, can we have activation key for the parent portal? And again, I know this was just covered, but just to clarify, how does a parent get on to the parent portal?
So if the parent has a activation key already, they can contact the parent coordinator. The parent coordinator will step them through that process. It's literally about 5 steps to get that activation key or get that parent portal going. If they don't have the activation key, then they should contact the school secretary, and the secretary will provide them with that access key so they can log in.
Wonderful. One final question before we move on. If I have a high school student who needs to change a schedule or has a question regarding schedule, who should they be speaking to?
If it's a high school student, by all means, feel free to contact that school counselor, and they can definitely work with that child to change the schedule. If you're not able to contact the counselor, contact the school principal, and they will definitely route your call to the correct person. But our counselors are helping to change any schedules that we need to change.
Thank you. And I just want to put in a plug for the school websites. And again, school counselors have information up on those websites specific to them, and they are wonderful resources. So please go there. And now I'd like to move on and introduce Chad Meyer.
Hey everybody, good evening. Thanks for taking a few moments to spend some time with us regarding the reopening of schools. I'm the IT director for the district. Just to go over our all of our supports that we have in place, as the proverb states, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it's going to take a whole village of help here in technology to make sure we're successful. So the village that we have in front of you is we have an 11-person, and we've actually added capacity to it, help desk, which can be emailed at tsc@milwaukee.k12.wi.us or 414-438-3400. And all that information is on mymps.org. You can email or call the help desk if there's any issues with passwords, reporting problems with Chromebooks, Infinite Campus, or just basic navigation or technology questions. As the tickets come in, if we can't handle them directly, we forward them to the folks that can. The next part of the supports that we have here are your classroom teachers. If you have any needs related to any of the academic tools or platforms that we're going to be using, such as Google Classroom, Clever, any class or grade specific academic activities, please contact your classroom or your child's teacher. The school principal has a role in our technology world now. The principal is going to be distributing or taking the lead on distributing Chromebooks in schools. They're going to be the person in between replacements when they need to be done, and also the person that will be facilitating any repairs of devices that need to be done. We have a large group of IT service technicians. They're working diligently out there right now. They'll be working on repairing Chromebooks, and if there's any issues with any hotspots that families may have loaned to connect virtually to the learning environments. As Mr. Hall stated before, we have our parent coordinators. They're going to be a central point of contact, directing questions to the right resources, and they're also going to be able to provide information about many of the academic resources that we do have available. And lastly, on mymps.org, there's under the tab that says Family Tutorials. There's tons of videos on there. I'd highly recommend taking a look at those. They'll tell you what Google Classroom is, how to log on your Chromebook. I saw some things in the chat about Seesaw. People were wondering, what the heck is Seesaw? Seesaw is on there. Please take a look at that tutorial. And the only other thing I wanted to give you a tip on before we left here is, this whole learning environment is very intensive on having a network or an internet connection. Please make sure in your homes, if your students are working on the internet, limit folks when school's going on, limit people from streaming audio, TV, limit people from gaming and things like that, because all of that really bogs down our internet connections at home. So let's try to prioritize learning when we're at home, and make sure that the bandwidth and the capacity on our internet is available for learning. Thank you. Sorry, I was supposed to turn it over to Neva. Neva, Google Classroom, correct?
Yes, great job.
Yes, hello, my name is Neva Moga, Instructional Technology Supervisor for Milwaukee Public Schools. And joining me for this portion is Todd Hartwick. He's an Instructional Technology Teacher Leader for Milwaukee Public Schools. And so I'm going to be doing a demonstration of how to navigate Google Classroom Google Classroom is the learning platform, like Chad was saying, for grades 3 through 12 for the most part. This year we've started implementing Seesaw, which will be used pre-K through 2nd grade. And each school will let you know which virtual learning platform your child will use. So this demonstration is focused on Google Classroom, and as was stated before, more information about both Google Classroom and Seesaw are on our parent resources page. Okay, so from our MPS homepage, how do you get to Google Classroom? You'll start by going to Students and the Student Toolbox, which houses all of our district resources. The Student Toolbox is built on Clever, so that's what Clever is. And when a student logs in, they will log in with their, they log in with Google, and when they log in, they will choose which kind of classroom they're going to. In this case, we're going to go to Google Classroom. When Google Classroom, the home page for it loads, all of the tiles for your child's teacher will be visible, okay? Sometimes a child may be invited to be part of a class, and when they see it, they'll see a tile like this one that says accept, right? Or they'll be added to the class. They'll be invited to join. They're not able to decline. And so in this instance, you can see these couple of tiles that I have. I see Miss Evans' class and her homeroom, and then I also see here's the parent demo class that I'll be using. So this is what a student will see. Notice on the tile itself, there are kind of a heads up about some assignments that are upcoming. To enter the class, click on the title of the class. And once you're in the class, the student will notice there are 3 sections to a Google Classroom. The stream is more like the announcements page where the teacher will post announcements. It kind of works like social media where the newest message is on top. The next page, and before I leave this page, there's also sometimes teachers will use for synchronous learning, Google Meet. And so here's a link to Google Meet. Teachers may send out links different ways or provide different Google Meet links, but here's one place where a teacher may share a Google link with the students. The next section is Classwork. This is where the students' assignments are posted within Google Classroom. In this model classroom, you can see at the top, there's a section for a daily check-in. And what I would do is I'd click on the question of the day. Oh, it looks like I could answer right here. My question was, what superpower? Oh, I don't see the whole thing. To see the entire prompt, notice this part that says view question. So it's giving me a preview, but I need to click view question to see the entire activity. All right, when I click view, I can now see the whole question. What superpower would you choose from this list? Ooh, wow. You know what? I want to be super smart, okay? And then I'll click turn in, okay? And it's saying you won't be able to make changes. Okay, I'm good. Superpower or super smarts is it. So I turn that in. It's important students turn in their assignment, otherwise it looks like the student is not done, okay? Once I finish this assignment, I can go over and hit the back arrow on my computer to get back to the classwork page, or by clicking parent demo, takes me back to the landing page of the classroom. So I'm just going to hit the back arrow. And now I can go on to the next assignment. The next one, another question. Like I said, oh, it gives me a preview. Hit view question to see the whole thing. Oh, tell me some things you know about them. Insects. Okay. I know. Now notice the difference here. Class comments is not where a student would type their answer. Class comments is if I had a question or comment about the activity that my peers would be able to see. In this case, I just want to turn in my answer to the teacher, and so I need to type my response where it says your answer. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to say, I know insects fly, some insects, let me change that. And let's say, I know, you know, it said some things, so I need more than one. So if I'm answering the prompt, I'm going to do 2. I know insects have maybe. And I might also add, I hate bugs in general. Okay, and turn this in to the teacher. You can't make changes. Okay, I'm good with that. And then again, like I said, you go on to the next assignment. And I'm just gonna hit the back arrow to get back to my assignments page. And again, I'm still in this classwork section. Looking down, you can see other types of assignments. Depending on how the teacher has structured their classroom, if you'll notice the topics of how the classroom is organized, and this is one way to navigate as well. Okay, so I could jump to reading if there were more topics, or I could jump to the math section and then just see the assignments related to math. Okay, and so it just depends on how the teacher has organized their classroom. Again, taking a look at this is material. Notice it's gray and not like a blue, letting you know that you have to complete it. And then here's an assignment. Notice step 1, step 2, and remember, click on the entire assignment to see, and then turn in my work. Okay. And I could, if need be, if I needed to add additional documents, I could add or create. I can upload something from my Google Drive. I can add a link or a document from my computer, or create a new Google tool. Okay, so those options are available to me if the assignment called for me to create something like that. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna go back to this main page. That is what it would look like. My note, and this was shared earlier, you'll want to ask or provide your email address to your families or to your teachers. If you give the teacher your email address, you can receive the weekly summaries, which will show what is the upcoming work for my student, what work may be missing, and it just gives you a weekly summary of the activities for your child within Google Classroom. And again, you'll get the weekly summaries by providing your email address to your classroom teacher. Okay, and with that, that completes the demo of Google Classroom for you today. Thank you for watching, and I'll turn it back over to Ms. Hawkins.
All right, thank you, Ms. Moga.
And actually, I do have a few questions now, a lot actually in regards to technology, so please feel free to jump in. And the first one is, what if I need a hotspot? How do I get a hotspot?
Hey, Mr. Galvan, if somebody needs a hotspot, they can get a hotspot in one of 2 ways. And I put it in the chat earlier. I can put it down at the bottom of the thread so people can readily access it. But if you send an email to internetaccess@milwaukee.k12.wi.us, or if you just call your school's main office, they can help you with that process.
Thank you. And a few of these questions I know the answers to, so I will answer them, and please correct me if I am wrong. But there seems to be a lot of questions about how to get a Chromebook. Again, those Chromebooks have been handed out. Traditional start schools are in the process of doing that now. Many students did receive a Chromebook in March when schools closed, but if you do not have one, you simply have to contact the school and set up an appointment to get one. And again, if you have 3 or 4 children in the home, each child can get a Chromebook. So it's not one per family, just to clarify. Each child can receive a Chromebook, again, please reach out to your schools to get that. Again, many of our traditional start schools have begun that process. Some of them were handing out Chromebooks today. But again, please feel free to reach out to them if you do not have a Chromebook.
Can I just correct you, Mr. Galvan?
Yes.
Our early starts have received those Chromebooks. Our traditional starts will receive.
Correct. Thank you for the correction, and I appreciate that. There was another question regarding when will parent meetings be held in terms of PTOs, school engagement councils. I can kind of answer that as well. Again, schools will set up those meetings once they are in session. Obviously, right now, they want to make sure that the schools are up and running and students are well attended to and have everything they need. And those meetings will be set up, and the difference obviously being that they will be done virtually. So as was stated earlier by Dr. Dinkins and Ms. Hawkins, we understand that for parents, this is new as well. So some of those tutorials on how to join a meeting and how to participate in a meeting will obviously come in handy. Could you provide some clarification again on what Seesaw is and how it is different from Google Classroom?
Sure. Hi, this is Neva. I can speak to that. So Google Classroom, again, has been our learning management platform for a number of years here at MPS. And this year, because of needing to move to virtual learning, we looked into a tool that would be more user-friendly for some of our youngest learners. And so we found Seesaw will serve that need. It's another learning management platform where students can turn in assignments and take pictures of their work because they do a lot of hands-on learning. And so it's uploading the student, maybe showing a manipulative, right? Counting beans, whatever, but the student can then upload that and share their work with their teacher easier using Seesaw. So it's just another learning management platform. All those who have students in kindergarten, the teachers will reach out to you and let you know how you can get joined, because there's also an app for you as the teacher, or you as the parent or guardian can download the Seesaw app, and then you're able to interact with the teacher, see your students' work, see the feedback, all on the form, all on the app. One thing I omitted, since I got the mic back, I wanted to show that where you get feedback in Google Classroom. Like I said, in Seesaw, families, once they connect with their teacher's classroom, the families will be able to see the students' work that they turned in, as well as any feedback the teacher provides, and the families can give their own child feedback within Seesaw. It's pretty cool. So you'll learn more about that as your teachers get started using it and reaching out to you as the family to get connected. But how do you see feedback in Google Classroom? And I'm gonna quick share my screen while I still have the mic here. And so I had, posted an assignment during the demo. Where do I go get feedback? I would go, as a student, go back to my assignment. And so here's my daily check-in. And then here's the first question, today's question. I can go back to view it, and just by clicking, it shows that it's been graded by my teacher, Mr. Hartwig. And he says, Neva, you know quite a bit about bugs, and you are about to learn a lot more. Okay, so this is where it's a private comment. Only I see the feedback he's given me. And then if I had more questions of my teacher, this is where I would type it. And so I could have a conversation with my teacher about the content right here in each assignment, okay? And that's where the student would get their feedback.
Can I jump in and ask a question? Would the parent be able to see that comment that the teacher provided for you?
Nope, the parent won't see this section of Google Classroom. The parent will just have a weekly summary of what assignments were submitted and if any were missing. Great question. However, a parent could have their child log in and kind of look over the shoulder and see the feedback that the teacher has provided. Yep, with the student login. So parents won't log into Classroom, but they will get the weekly summaries of the assignments. And then if they wanted to see what is the feedback that their child has received, when the child logs in, the parent can look at the screen. Great question. And then I will let Ms. Hawkins take over the presentation. Just wanted to show everyone that. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm glad you answered that question because that was the next one I was going to ask. Again, a couple more technology questions here. I have heard there were issues on the first day with access. How will those be resolved, or were they resolved, Mr. Meyer?
Yeah, those were resolved. We had some issues with on-premise and cloud-based content filter on the first day. Those have been resolved, and we don't foresee there being any issues moving forward.
Thank you very much. Are Chromebooks mandatory, or can you use a home desktop or a home computer?
The only thing our students need to participate in this virtual world is a device that has primarily or recommended a Chrome browser, so a PC, a MacBook, a Chromebook. Any computer that's got a Chrome browser and an internet connection can do all the learning that we'll need to do virtually. So you do not need to check out a Chromebook if you feel more comfortable or have a device at home.
Wonderful. What are the hours of the Center for Technology Questions?
Our tech support center is open from 7 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. daily. We're like super busy right now. Our analysts are even answering emails off hours. So, you know, send an email if it's off hours, or call during hours. And we're trying to make sure that all the requests are handled as quickly as possible. But it's crazy out there.
Can I also add, depending on what the concern is with the Chromebook, if you're talking about more academic concerns in terms of Google Classroom, in terms of Seesaw, please feel free to reach out to your child's teacher or this child's school principal that can help you with that. If we could route some of our technology issues in terms of if the Chromebook is not working, some of those to the IT people. But here again, if you have just academic concerns, please make sure you contact your child's school.
Wonderful. Could someone address our grades going on Infinite Campus? Are students going to receive grades?
Yes, we mentioned earlier in the presentation, unlike the spring, when we went out not knowing that this pandemic would take, we would still be in this situation, we did more enrichment. So it was a pass-fail. At this point, grades will be put into Infinite Campus, which is why Dr. Dinkins really encouraged our families to sign up for the parent portal. So that way you can keep an eye and get a snapshot even prior to grades being posted of how your child is doing.
Thank you. Dr. Dinkins, you mentioned the tutorials earlier. Will those be available in other languages?
Our communications department is working as we speak to ensure that the tutorials can be translated. But the wonderful thing about that school reopening site, if parents would browse it tonight, there is a button on there that says translate. So a lot of the material on there, the parent can choose what language they want it to be translated in, and it should occur. But the tutorials, the ones that have been pre-recorded, our communications department is working on that as we speak.
Thank you. Again, quite a few questions still remaining about Chromebooks. Again, you don't have to pre-register. You can, again, get one from your school. If you are new to Milwaukee Public Schools, your school will be reaching out to you. If they don't, please reach out to them. Again, our early starts have already done that process. Most of our traditional start schools are beginning that, or will be very shortly, in terms of getting Chromebooks out, in terms of having, again, information for all our families. Again, school-specific virtual plans in our traditional start schools will be available very soon. Again, they're just finalizing some details. I know that many families and many of those questions regards to that are up there. What if the Chromebook breaks? How do we handle that?
If there's any issue with the Chromebook, I mean, break is a pretty loose term, you know. I mean, is it just not working? Is it something froze up? Is the screen broken? If there's any issue with the Chromebook, please contact your child's school. work with the principal, that village that we talked about before, work with the school principal to get a replacement. We do have our IT service technicians out there at this point. We're not going to have you go without a device. We're going to give you a replacement device, and we're going to repair that thing while you're off doing learning, and then somebody else will get the device that you have.
Ms. Mims Howell, are you available? And if so, again, how are IEP meetings going to be held?
IEP meetings will be held virtually or via a phone call. If a student had an IEP in the spring, the IEP is probably current. If indeed a parent is requesting a review revise, or if there's an IEP that's due this school year, they can either contact the teacher for the review revise, or a teacher will reach out to them to set up a mutual agreeable time to hold an IEP meeting. Another thing about the IEP meeting is that teachers may be contacting you depending on the type of services that are being offered for the student virtually versus in a face-to-face setting. There may need to be an IEP review revise to talk about the contingency plan for those IEP services. So if you're questioning it now, feel free to reach out to your school, to the special education teacher or the special education supervisor. They'll be happy to assist you.
Okay. Thank you. Are there certain apps I should download on my phone or Chromebook, Mr. Meyer, or is everything they need already available to them?
Yeah, anything that families will need on an MPS device is ready on it. Like I said, the good thing about us being in this cloud-based virtual world is you really just need the Chrome browser and an internet connection to do almost everything that we need. There are a couple specific apps and extensions, and if those are critical for learning, we push those out to our devices. I don't even think you would need those on a phone. And if you did, if you logged in with your Google account on a phone or PC or MacBook, those extensions with your MPS account would be downloaded automatically as we send them out. So you really just need an MPS Google account, Google Chrome, and a device that gets to the internet, and you're in business.
Thank you. Again, there's quite a few questions about when you will be receiving information. This is primarily, I believe, from traditional start schools. Again, one thing that would really help us is if you've changed address, if you've moved since March, if you are somehow have a different phone number, please reach out to the school. You can email school sites. You can certainly call and leave that information, because again, information that hasn't gone out will soon. Again, our traditional schools will begin soon in terms of teachers will be getting ready to go, and our early start schools again are in session already. There are a few more questions, but again, we won't be able to answer all of the questions tonight at this time. Again, I would like to repeat that these questions will be taken from the chat. We will answer the questions and we will make them available on the reopening web page. But in order to honor everybody's time, at this time, I would like to turn it back over to Ms. Hawkins. And I would personally like to thank all of you for participating, and looking forward to the great things ahead. Ms. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Galvan. Again, as Mr. Galvan stated, the questions that we were not able to get through tonight, we will make sure that we include them on the reopening page. I wanted to take this opportunity to first thank the panel for sitting with us tonight. We had a lot of questions come in from parents, and it was our hope that we were able to pull people together to answer a lot of those questions. We know that this is not it. We know that there's still going to be questions along the way. And so please look forward to seeing from us more virtual platforms that we can address some of your concerns, some of your questions. It's been alluded to tonight that we are all in this together. I definitely can say that I've learned a lot since the pandemic started in terms of technology. I thought I knew something, but I've learned so much more. I'm nowhere near where Ms. Moga or Mr. Chad Meyer is, but I've learned so much. And so families, we hope that you are going to learn and grow with us. It is going to be a new it is going to be a learning curve for all of us. What I can ask and what I can say to you is to be patient. We are going to get you the information as fast as we can. Stay connected. Please make sure you're checking in with your child's teacher. You're making sure that your children are in front of the computer every single day. Although they won't be going to brick and mortar, we still need children logging in every single day. We use the term evidence of learning. And so every day you should have some type of evidence of learning for your child at home. Make sure that they are reaching out. Take advantage of office hours. Take advantage of the parent tutorials. We want to make this as seamless as possible for our families. But in order to do that, we have to hear from you. And we're going to problem solve together. We're not always going to say that we know the answer right now and today, but we are going to work with you to make sure that all of our kids get what we need, because as we said, business of teaching and learning is still happening. And so we're still expecting all of our students, all of our teachers, all of our staff to still work hard to make sure that every child in Milwaukee Public Schools get what they need. And so with that, I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. If there's something else that you need from us before you log off, please indicate it in the chat, and we are going to make sure not only that we answer questions, but we think about future sessions that we'll have for our parents. So again, on behalf of all of my colleagues and I, we want to thank you for joining us, and we hope that tonight was helpful as you start phase 1 of virtual learning in Milwaukee Public Schools.